Welcome everyone to the Kids Table podcast. A little bit different cast tonight. Tonight we are joined by Ed. He's a little bit older than the rest of us, so you just have to excuse that. And then we've got Connor, a usual feature. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, people. How the devil are we? Are we talking about Blood Angels today?
We are indeed three
yes,
Blood
we are.
Angels mains, and we will be talking Blood Angels today. We'll be talking about how to use them, what lists are being run, and how to try to beat them because they're unbeatable. So that's what we'll be going through today.
We haven't lost games with them, have we, mate? It's fine.
No, we haven't. That's just unlucky. That's what we call that.
Cool then. Let's get on to the slideshow.
So the first slide we have is to go through how to be a Blood Angels main. So that is speed paint an army in a week and sweat it out. Me, Ed. I don't know if you've done that yourself, Connor.
No, not me. I was actually prepared.
Me and Ed were not. Shout out to Ed though for getting best overall at Sheffield by speed painting.
Yeah, it's here. It hasn't left my sight. The trophy.
Where's the ticket? We need the ticket on show.
So the ticket was actually just a fake ticket. That's just for the photos. They sorted me out a ticket afterwards. It's not actually something you can take home.
Oh,
that's all a lie. I'm kind of disappointed about that.
I am as well. But I like the idea of having the ticket though, because I can frame it and all that sort of thing. It's like your first dollar, isn't it? It's great. But yeah, so Blood Angel mains. I'm actually not really a Blood Angel main. I'm not going to lie. I can't really claim to be. I played one event with it, but I've enjoyed them, and that's where we are.
I have currently played 3 events with them, so I'm not exactly a Blood Angels main either. So, what about you, Connor?
I've only played 3 as well, mate. I wouldn't even consider myself a Blood Angels main too.
So we're all mains. And we're all going to tell everyone how to be Blood Angel mains.
So we're all on a hype train that when it derails, we'll be on something else probably.
Absolutely.
Right,
let's jump on to the next slide then. So the detachment. Harley,
so the detachment. Connor, do you want to explain this one?
Yeah, I can do. So Sun Sanguinius, basically, whenever you make a charge move, +2 strength, +1 attack. It's such a good buff. I find that +2 strength specifically hits so many breakpoints. Strength 10 power fist, strength 6 chain swords. It's just such a good buff. Yeah, it's probably the best combat buff.
It's much better than +1 strength. Like if it was +1, that +2 it's a nasty break point. It's really good, the +2, and just the +1 attack is really good. Ed, do you want to run through some of the stratagems the detachment has to offer?
Sure. So before we go on to that, there's a quick one. It's actually every time you fight. So there's some jank you can do with the Death Company Dreads. It's not just when you have to charge move. So obviously we don't condone this.
I do massively. Death Company Dread is just brilliant. I love it.
So every time you pile an attack, guys, you get the +2 strength and you get the +1 attack. So it's not just when you make a charge move. It's like when you keep bouncing between units as well, and you get the +6 consolidated strat as well. So those two as a combination is something you can do. But I'm going to cover the one that is 2, which are quite overall, and one of the ones that are always in most Blood Angel attachments is Armor Contempt, which we love it. It's -1 AP for incoming attacks, which is nice and simple, and 1 CP. And then one of the strengths behind the detachment is Fight on Death. This is 2 CP. It's automatic, which is the big thing. A lot of Fight on Deaths in the world right now are on 4-ups. But it is 2 CP, so it does come at a cost, but ultimately it is one of the strengths behind the list. Because you can have like MSU units go forward, kill a unit, and if it's against a combat army, they can charge and then fight on death. So that's a big thing that you can do with that detachment. So those are the 2 that I'm going to cover, because those are the ones I think most people are going to know, love, and use.
So you have forgotten the best stratagem in the detachment. So this is why you are clearly not a Blood Angels main.
I'm not
on the train. +1 to wound with lance and lethal hits is amazing for 1 CP. When you have chain swords that wound things on 4s with 5 attacks each at AP1, it becomes really punchy, like crazy punchy. When we cover the lists, we will see why Ed doesn't use his stratagem, because all his stuff is strength 10 anyway. So
exactly. Who needs that?
He doesn't need the stratagem. But when you run a list like mine, Connor's, that +1 to wound and lethal hits is real nice. But we'll run through the lists later. But some other stratagems, the 6-inch consolidate, it was mentioned a little bit. Very good stratagem. Death Company Dread, you can pair it with, and you could just pinball through an army. It's really good. You've got a fullback and charge one, which is really handy. I think that's most of the stratagems. You've got 6-inch consolidate, fullback charge, +1 to wound, lethals, fight on death, armor of contempt. I think that's the main sort of locker. So it's an array of stratagems.
Yeah, there is one more, I think, which is the heroic sacrifice. Is it where if you use something kills your
sacrifice?
Yeah, I can't remember the actual breakdown of that, but the thing is, if someone kills your warlord with a unit, you can get full rerolls against that unit, I believe.
So if they kill your character, your whole army gets full rerolls against that unit.
Yeah, which obviously rerolls are something. Yeah, because rerolls are quite rare in this detachment, as you're going to find out later on.
Like what are rerolls? Like,
you need rerolls, man. Okay, so that's the detachment. Key units.
Right, so we'll go through Connor's sort of key units first, and then we'll go through your heads. What are your sort of key units in the list, Connor?
This is going to be a very obvious one, but any form of Death Company can be with jump packs, can be without. As long as they've got an Inferno Pistol and a Power Fist, they go in every list so well.
Yeah, they are crazy. 4 attack, strength 10, AP2 on the charge with 4 rerolls to hit. If they're led by Lamatis, they're getting lethals. If they're led by a chaplain, they're getting +1 to wound. If they're led by neither, you can get both just for 1 CP. They get 4 rerolls on their melter pistols to hit as well, just because why not? And they just go Superman. They are crazy. They're just the best unit in the detachment, I think. What are your thoughts on the med?
I think you're all right. I think that's one of the key units. I think the fact that they've got independent rerolls means that you can use other units that don't need that can use the oath. So you can basically separate your damage allocation and be really efficient with it just from that natural rerolls because it makes them so reliable. And it's the fact that they have the Inferno pistols. You can open transports. You can be awkward. You can if someone gives you a unit which does not like being shot by melter pistols, you can just pick them up and then basically create a situation where you're killing 2 units for the price of 1 for that trade, which is really powerful.
And if you've got a 10-man Death Company, you can kill 3 units. You shoot 1, you charge 2, bang. What about your list though, Ed? Is there any key units bar the Death Company in there?
So we covered the jump pack Death Company. I think that kind of covers the Foot Company as well. But I will just touch on them briefly because the Foot Company really good because especially on the UKT submissions now, you've basically got places where you can hide a Rhino and trade out 9 from there. Especially with the double L that they've got, where you've got like 2 small L's together in the deployment zone, you can basically shove a Rhino in one corner an inch away to sort of provoke trades around your edge, so you can give heroics and stuff. And the battle shock check with my list from Dante, which gives you lots of traps for your opponents to fall into. But the Foot Company are great as well. But if we're not going to cover Death Companies purely, I love Sangard. Sangard are fantastic. They've got a 2-up save. They don't have rerolls given, which is why some people don't use them. But that's what you use your oath for. So you've got so many rerolls throughout the army anyway. Not having those rerolls naturally doesn't matter too much, especially with Dante's unit hitting on 2s and then the other unit rerolling. So you have this turn where you can full send with a full combat army with all rerolling to hit, apart from maybe 1 unit of Sangard. Unless you charge them both into the oath target.
So, going over sort of key units, we've got Sangard, we've got Death Company. I'll just touch on a couple. I think Jump Pack Assault Intercessors for 80 points are crazy. Yeah. They are just stupid. You go grenades, charge, and then that's like 6 mortal wounds, and then you've halved the tank just by charging, and you haven't even rolled your dice. Then you pop the lethals and lance strat, and this 5-man has suddenly killed a tank. And it's like, this was 80 points and you're dead. Like, they are crazy. Really, really good. Obviously, move 12 as well, so they're fast. They just fit the army perfectly, and they just trade really well. Like, you can't really out trade them for 80 points. Like, I don't think there's a unit that does that much damage as them in Sons of Sanguinius. Another key unit I think in my list is very key that you two don't use, and I am the only one using it, is Bowl Predators. I think they are the king. They are so good for 125 points. You can't go wrong. Like, it's just so good. It's something that forces people out because you sit it on an objective, someone's going to have to deal with it because otherwise next turn you roll an advance, you roll on 4 on average because you get a reroll for free with it, and then you're just zooming and killing infantry, and it's just so good. I really rate them. That's one
Yeah,
of
you're
my
not
favorite units.
you're not the only one. I mean, I don't use them personally because I think you have to hit a certain critical mass with Blood Angels to full send reliably. And to hit that critical mass and taking 2 ball breads can take away from that. But that's just my personal opinion. But it's nothing wrong with them. I think they're decent. But yeah, I cause you raved about them over the weekend and how good they are. So I trust your opinion.
One of Connor's favourite things is Lancers. Connor, you love Lancers, don't you?
Yeah, I love gladiators in general. I think with some of the new terrains that we might be playing on, they probably lose a bit of value. So it's very terrain dependent. But I find Lancers sitting back means your opponent can't just sit out in the open. They have to navigate around it some way, which can lead to you being able to exploit holes in their lines with your Death Company, for an example. So I think Lancers are great. I've tried Reapers a couple of times as well. That's more matchup dependent, but
Yeah,
yeah, love Lancers.
I think I like Lancers too. I think Ennis used a couple in a list a while ago. I think it might have been in Manchester. And he went 5-0, so he had a lot of success with them.
It definitely keeps people honest.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
it
that's an
definitely
important
keeps
aspect.
people honest. Like, without them, people can just sit in the open and just wait for you to push and shoot you. But they are very expensive when you
Yes.
are, because you can't take one, because one just doesn't do enough. So you have to take 2, which I think they're 160 each. So that's
Yeah.
320, and then you're just losing part of that full send, as you were saying, Ed.
Yeah.
Obviously, bowls are a little bit cheaper than that, and with the new UKTC boards, they move a lot quicker than Lancers. So that's why I think I prefer the bowls to them.
If I had a choice between the two, I would definitely go Bars. Like if I had to take one or the other, I'd definitely take the Bars. But I think the Lancers have their value in certain matchups. So depending on where the meta is, right? If you're in a meta where you've got Land Raiders and like 6 Dreadknights to worry about, I can see the value, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But it's the issue that you find is like a 4-up invan here and there can spike, and then suddenly they're not doing their job, which is can be very frustrating. So yeah, cool. So I think that's key units covered. Let's jump onto the list. Harley, let's jump onto your Blood Angel list. You love this.
Going on to my list first. So obviously this is the best list we're about to show. It's perfect, no changes needed. So to start the list, we have a captain. He is joined by 5 assault intercessors, and they are chucked into not a rhino, sorry, an impulsor. Then we have a chaplain with jump pack. He joins one of the 5-man Death Company, because I really like the 5-man Death Companies with jump packs, but I feel like having both of them with 0 OC is just, sometimes if you go into something and you don't kill it and there's 1 OC left, you feel real bad. So I just like that one unit that can guarantee trade something. Then we have Lamartis, who is joined by 10 Death Company. That's a staple in every list. Like, I personally would never drop it. I think it's the best unit in my sort of list, just because it hits so hard. It has some form of tankiness because AOC cover -1 damage. It can survive, and obviously they have built-in lethals. I just think that's a great unit. Like, a unit that Connor and Ed are not running, that is essential, is Sangri Priest with Vanguard Veterans. This unit can tank. Like, you look at Blood Angels, they can't really tank stuff. And then you look at this unit and that goes, it fits the profile. It's fast, it does combat, it hits hard, and it survives. So the Sangri Priest gives them a 5-up Feel No Pain and +1 AP. So they are T4, 2 wounds, 4-up Invan because they have Storm Shields, and then 5-up Feel No Pain with the Sangri Priest. And they have 5 attacks on the charge at Strength 7, AP 2, 1 damage, and they have built-in lethals. So it's a crazy number of attacks. And obviously, if you pop the +1 to wound, it's really good. So that unit is lovely. I wouldn't drop that unit. Like, it was really good over the weekend. Even to just, I would stick it on an objective and people just wouldn't go near it just because they wouldn't be able to deal with it. So it's just going, this is mine, goodbye. So that was really good. Then you go with the free 5-man assault jump packs. Like I said, nothing outtrades them for 80 points. So I just think you have to go. If you own 15, just use 15. Like, you just like 240 points for 15 Marines that are so quick, do mortals, power fist, plasma pistol. You just can't go wrong with that unit. It's so good. Then obviously I mentioned the 2 Bile Predators. I really enjoyed these over the weekend. They were one of my favorite units just because it would get people to go into positions they didn't want to go to because they'd be trying to avoid an Overwatch because the Overwatch is nasty. They wouldn't want to come out because of an Overwatch. So like some of my games, for instance, the first round was Terraform. I put 10 Vanguard vets on an objective, started to terraform, put the Bile Predator next to it because it was against Imperial Guard, and I said, do you want to come stop this terraform by 10 guard standing on it? Yes. Okay. Overwatch, that unit's dead. So it's just, there's a lot of plays with it that are really nice, and they're 125 points. So they're just so good for their points, and you get a hunter killer missile as well. So it's just a lot of good plays with them. I really like them, and obviously to make them even tankier, you can pop smoke and then cover. Like it just really, really nice. I really enjoyed them over the weekend. And then obviously the scouts, like what Marine list doesn't have scouts? You'd be crazy to not take 10 in Marines. They're just so good. Infiltrate, scout, uppy down. They're probably the best unit. And then if you take them in Blood Angels, they become punchy as hell. That one chainsword man is crazy. He goes absolutely insane. Like my games over the weekend, I played against like 10 flayed ones. I went his scouts to charge both, kill both, turn one. Like that chainsaw guy, he goes crazy. He's good. I'm actually, my next list, I'm taking all combat knives on my scouts because a rocket launcher and a sniper does nothing. 4 combat knives is the go-to. But yeah, that was the list. I feel like it's got a little bit of shooting with the Preds. It's got loads of combat. It's got a good amount of trade-in pieces, and then it's got 2 big bricks, one being extra killy and one being extra tanky. So I just felt over the weekend I just had a really good array of tools in the list. I had sort of everything for every situation. So I really enjoyed this list.
Fair play, mate. Fair play. It's a good list. I say we disagree on the Bile Preds, but like it's a solid list. Like I think the Bile Preds have given you a lot of value over that weekend, which is awesome. And yeah, it's a great blend list, isn't it? Like I think if you saw that, no matter what happens, you're going to be a little bit scared of that one. Yeah. So yeah, I agree. Any other comments, Connor, on Harley's beautiful list?
I quite like that list. I think if I did have some Bile Preds, I would try it, but
I would make changes though after playing it. I think the one change, as much as I love the captain and intercessor unit in the impulsor, I just think the impulsor's a bit too big to fit in them. So you've got the 2 corner L's. You want to be staging Death Company in there, and if you've got an impulsor, it just doesn't fit. It's too big. So then you've got to stick it out somewhere. So I just think with the list, I'd be better. So what I'm planning to do is drop 5 intercessors that were sitting on the back giving me sticky, which didn't really matter because some of the missions over the weekend, you didn't need your home field. So if it's a mission I need my home field, the scouts can hold it. If it's not, then I've got even more send units. So I just don't think the intercessors were worth it over the weekend. Except round 4, I played Grey Knights, 5 intercessors, 1 shot a Dread Knight on their own. They grenaded it, they shot it, they charged it, and they killed it. Just 5 of them. And oh my God, it was beautiful because it was doing a recover assets for 6 points and it killed it. And I was just like, oh my God. I just wanted to tie it up and they killed it. And I was like, that should not be happening. So shout out to them. And poor Adam from Redacted, that happened to. That was quite funny. I'm sure he'll love to listen to that. But I would drop them and the Assault Intercessor unit and Impulsor for 2 units to Sandguard. That's what I'm going to be testing at the moment because Ed has not stopped breaking my eardrums about Sangri Guard. So it's time to test them. They do look good. So I will test them and see how that goes.
Brilliant. Sounds good. Whose list is next? Oh, it's mine. Cool. So my list. Obviously, this is now the best list. Now that we've got the next list up, so we're going to start off with Commander Dante. Pretty standard. You'll see that in all the lists or not all the lists, but a few lists that you'll play. He's got an awesome ability which gives him the battle shock within 6 inches. He doesn't have to be in combat whilst doing it, and it's all at -1. So you can basically create a scenario where he's close to 2 units you're engaging, force 2 battle shocks. 1 should fail, and if 1 fails, then you know where to activate first to get around the interrupt, which is really, really good. And that's normally sits behind the Rhino in the gap that they can charge through and get to the Rhino so that Dante can heroic in. because it's just awkward. And then we've got Lamartes going in with the Unit of 10 Death Company, same as Harley's setup. I do agree they're very, very good. I think I am going to try out a more of an MSU approach in the next list. So I think I might actually lose Lamartes, but we shall see. I know. And
no.
I'll go on the theory behind that in a bit, and you might like it. They've got 2 foot chaplains, as they are, standard procedure. Then we're getting on to the units. We've got 2 units of 5 Death Company, which have the 2 chaplains attached most of the time, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes you're playing against armies that don't have anything above toughness 5. So in those certain situations, the chaplains don't need to really be attached to do their things. They can just sit behind a wall, give out the +1 OC, and battle shock stuff when they need to. And then in the matchups, like in a custode matchup, or like you've got a lot of toughness 6 around, then they join the Death Company unit and give them a permanent +1 to wound, which is really, really good as well, because it means you save on some CP from the Lance and lethal strat, when you don't really want to have to be spending the CP to use it. So those are the 2 units of Death Company there. Then we've got another 2 units of 5 Death Company jump packs, as again, Power Fist and Meltipus on all of them. 2 units of Assault Intercessors with jump packs. I really love these guys. As Harley says, they're probably one of the best trades. I only have 2 because I wanted to squeeze in the last unit of Sandguard. So I dropped a unit of Assault Intercessors and a unit of Scouts because I had like 10 points spare to drop and then have the last unit of Sandguard in there for the 3 units. And then we go on to the Sandguard. So we've got 3 units of Sandguard, all with the Encalming Weapons and the Inferno Pistols. And then 2 units of Scouts. Mine also had the missile launcher and the sniper and all that sort of thing, but I agree with Harley. I think they all need to go to combat knives because I think they're really good for a first, especially for a first turn trade. If someone just underestimates them and you charge him with like 31 attacks at strength 6, and you can give them lance and lethals and oath, they can like do some damage to something if they need to, which is really, really good. So and also they can scout back if they don't want to have to engage with that and stay out of the way. So that's the list overall. What do you guys think?
I like it. The only thing that I am still not sold on is the Death Company in the Rhino with the chaplains. I know you love them. I used a 10-man, couldn't get on with it. Might be down to play style. I just didn't get on with it, but I can definitely see how it can work. I think something to rave about this list is it has 46 melter pistols.
46, yeah.
That's
casual
dirty.
46.
I like Dante and the Sandguard.
Sorry, 36.
Oh, 36. I mean,
yeah.
I like Dante and the Sandguard. I think that's a good idea. And as you spoke about with the heroic, that's a nasty threat. Obviously, I need to test the Sandguard to make sure they are worth their points. But obviously, you loved them over the weekend. You were saying 2-up save with AOC cover was just something people couldn't just shoot off the board. So it forced them to charge. And obviously, people don't want to charge Sandguard because they're -1 to hit in combat. And then obviously, you can go AOC again. We can fight on death. So obviously, there's a lot of play there that I want to test out with them as well. You obviously spoke about dropping the Lamartes and Death Company unit. I hate you for this, but explain why.
So the theory behind this is I want to go. Everyone knows my playstyle by now. It's either big bricks and horde or MSU combat. So those are the 2 things I play. So I think in the next version, I'm going to drop Lamartes and the 5 Death Company, which will free me up about 260 points. And then with 260 points, I could actually then drop a chaplain because I think, sorry, not drop chaplain. Then with 260 points, I can get another character for Sandguard, like a jump pack captain, and then take another unit of scouts and another unit of Assault Intercessors, which suddenly that solved all my problems over the weekend.
Yeah,
like all my problems. Yeah, it's just it's the extra action monkeys. Like I think the 3rd unit of scouts and the 3rd unit of Assault Intercessors just gives me that, and then I'd have 2 units of 5 Death Company with which can jump out of a Rhino with the 2 chaplains, 3 units of 5 Death Company, 3 units of 5 Sandguard, 2 units of scouts, 3 assault pack intercessor squads, and Dante. And I think that's and a jump pack captain with the points as well, which I think's a lot better. So that's what I'm going to be trying out at some point in the future, or it'll be something along those lines. I might just have another idea and be like, oh, actually, this is terrible. This is actually better, and play about with it. But that's the kind of theory that I'm going behind this. Because also, by the way, guys, do think that the MSU and Dante in the mirror just destroys the mirror. Like they can't like I think they just can't outtrade you because five death company will go in and make a mess of most of the bricks, and if they don't, they'll kill enough that it'll just like new to that squad, so that they then can't go off and kill a 5-man of yours without dying to fight on death. So it creates this scenario where they can't really trade with you very well.
I do like the list a lot, and I think that change will be very dependent of what you play, because obviously that Lamarty's unit it is the I kill God unit. Like if there's something you can't kill, that unit kills it. Like even if something AOCs or has -1 damage, just because the amount of attacks it puts out, it just kills it.
I agree. I think a death squad is fine. I think it's not. I'm not saying it's bad at all. It's that very much comes down to play style.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people like to have that comfort where you're like, if I put that in there, it is going to die.
Yeah.
But whereas with an MSU approach, which is the same as my old Grey Knight list, you go down the path of trying to work out exactly where your damage needs to go. Right. So if you work out your damage very well throughout the game and throughout the trades, you're going to end up out trading your opponent naturally, because that's just what happens in that scenario. And once you've got that secured and you've got 300 or 400 points above your opponent, that's when you can start to do the full send idea. And then if they've got too many threats to deal with, just threat saturation, that's the idea of the MSU approach. You take out key parts with extraordinary damage where you can, and then at that point, when they don't have the real estate to really threaten you back because of your fight on death, because of your heroics and all that sort of thing, that's when you can really use the power of the list. But that's just my take on Blood Angels. Obviously, there's a lot of different takes throughout Blood Angels throughout the meta right now. You've got bricks, you've got the MSU approach,
there's so much,
there's so many, because it's just such a strong detachment. It's hard to write a bad list.
Yeah, exactly. Like it is really good. That's something that I found interesting that you mentioned, that you are sometimes lacking action monkeys with this list over the weekend. I think probably that I didn't in my list is purely because I had the bowl predators, which half the time would just walk out, do actions, and then just threat Overwatch, and people just couldn't, because obviously if you send 5 Marines out, 5 scouts, that's very easy to kill. Whereas if I send a bowl predator out and pop smoke, it's actually quite tanky. So I think that's something I had in my list over the weekend that was really nice. Just something to chuck out and do an action. Because half the time the bowls just did the actions. Because their shooting's good, but like actions when you've got a full combat army that wants to go is also a needed thing. So that's obviously something with the new missions that I think is not great for Blood Angels, the amount of actions. Obviously, I can't complain because Blood Angels are very strong. But I think that is the only thing I could say is their action ability isn't great.
Yeah, it's one of their holding backs. But the reason why it's not so bad right now is because they just table their opponent to death.
Exactly, and then they catch up on the end. Yeah,
exactly.
So,
Connor, what do you think of the list?
I quite like it. I had a question. What do you usually have sitting on your backfield?
So, in some missions, it doesn't matter, as Harley said, which I worked out beforehand. And in missions, it does matter, just keep unit scouts back. And that's the reason why the 3rd unit of scouts and the 3rd unit of assault intercessors are good, because you can still have the 2 units of scouts running around doing the forward deploy and being annoying and stuff, and then have your scouts to hold the home field. So that's another reason why the strength of the 3 units are there. So yeah, that's the reason why. And also, I just went. I also looked at the things that you could do for backfield holding, like the intercessors and all that sort of thing. Looked at the missions that were there, and I was like, I can screen pretty well anyway, because I'm going to be existing in the middle of the board and staging, so I don't think it's going to matter massively. And I think I was right in that respect. It didn't matter. I don't think I needed the intercessors.
I wish I switched my intercessors out. Like that, obviously, apart from that one game, they killed a dread. Like just no one went for my backfield anyway.
Yeah.
Like
there's no reason to. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's just another unit you can send forward. And the thing is, half the time I'd have 5 assault intercessors sat in the big L anyway, just staging there. Because obviously, when you stage with Blood Angels, you can't stage everywhere, because the amount of Marines you have. So half the time I felt I was holding 5 assault Marines back anyway, in case next turn I drew an action somewhere or something like that. So scouts or them can hold it if they're sitting there anyway. So I just felt like 1 unit to hold it just wasn't needed. It was wasted points.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I completely agree. That was my thought process behind not having the backfield objective holding.
Yeah, I think that was a right call, definitely.
So yeah, thanks guys. We'll go on to the next list, which is Connor. Take it away, man.
So my list is a little bit different. Obviously, I got the gladiators in there. Well, quick rundown. So start off with 2 captains. So I really loved the assault intercessor captain combo. I played it at an event a couple months ago, Hellstorm GT, and I had a game into demons where both those units charged. It was still when you could double up strats, but I was able to do one of them one-shotted Bellacore, and the other unit did, I think it was like 16 damage to the Great Unclean one with the 4-up Feel No Pain. It was ludicrous. So I was always running them, but they are one of the things I've changed with my new list, which I'll speak a little about later. So yeah, then I've got a chaplain with jump back, similar to Harley. I liked having a second thing that could give an aura of OC. I always start my Lamarty squad in deep strike to rapid ingress somewhere, so having the OC early on was good for my 2 5-mans. Then I've got an intercessor squad. I really like the sticky objectives. Usually I could sticky turn 1 and then just run them forward, and with my lancers sort of screening my backfield, cutting angles, I was able to then use them as another action squad, and sometimes able to sticky the middle objectives. So it makes it a bit harder for people to dig out or dip your primary. Then I've got 3 units of assault intercessors with jump packs. They're just so good for 80 points. I could go on and on about it, but charge mortals, grenade keyword, got power fist in there. I'd had a game where they just charged and killed an armager just because. Didn't even have to spend any CP on the strat. Literally just the grenades and the charge. It's so good.
I killed 2 Sagittars of the weekend with 5-mans, so they're just
so
yeah,
good.
Those models just add up, man. And then you got the attacks and that sort of thing. They are impressive.
Then I've got Lamarty's with 10 Death Company. I think this is a staple, definitely mine Harley list going forward. Obviously, Ed's going to change, but
can't drop
I
it.
just never give that unit up. It's just every time it's just like I just need something dead, and then it kills it, and then it's like it's all -1 damage. Feel No Pain Marines. It's hard to deal with, and usually have the CB to fight on death as well.
Only silly people drop that unit.
Yeah.
You'll be regretting it, my man. When we play in the mirror, you'll be like, I wish I had it.
That's where the bowl predators come in.
I think that's the scariest thing for Blood Angels now is actually the mirror.
The mirror's the scariest game.
I think Blood Angels can play and beat any army in the game if you don't make mistakes, which I did into Josh. That's why I lost. But that's on that theory. I just build for the mirror. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if I have a game into everything, and the only worry that I have is the mirror, I just build for the mirror. So that's why I have Dante. That's why I've got MSU. That's the pure theory behind it.
Absolutely. So yeah, then I've got the 2 Gladiator Lancers. I love these guys. The rerolls is good. If you're shooting things that don't have invuns, they're usually taking 6-up saves or 5-ups of AOC. I just find I had a game on the weekend, played into Death Guard, and by the end of turn 3, they'd killed 2 Predators, 2 Brigands, and 2 Rhinos just because of rolling well and my opponent not making the save. So that they can do work. They're something I'm probably going to drop as well. I'll talk about that list later, but I think specifically with UKTC terrain, they just aren't 100%. More stuff.
Yeah. I used 2 of them at an event, and when they failed to kill a Forge Fiend 3 turns in a row, that is the second they got the drop button. They got dropped so hard it was unbelievable.
Yeah, I can see the issue with them. I like the idea of making someone deploy. Honestly, I do. I think everyone should. I think that's something that's great. But for me, I always try and weigh it up. So, because ultimately, the Blood Angels are an element of a stat check, right? You just go, I'm gonna kill you to death, and if you die, then fantastic. And that's where the threat saturation comes up, and that's where I don't think the shooting really comes into play too much with the list right now. But that's just my opinion. But also, at the old UKTC maps, the Lancers were very, very good because you could get lots of different angles and all that sort of thing, and that's why it was very viable before. Whereas with now, you've got so many stage points. You can basically hide your army from your opponent unless you've got really fast moving units that can cut angles and stuff. And because of that basis, I think that's quite good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think definitely on the old UKTC they were sort of needed because people could just pick Blood Angels off with angles. But on this new UKTC meta, no shooting, no shooting, just run, just bowl predators.
Charge.
And Inferno pistols. Can't forget the Inferno pistols.
Oh yeah.
They're
Yeah, and
crazy.
then just to round up the list, 2 units of scouts. I think they're great.
All of
Forward
us had 2
deploy, up
units of
bounty. If there's one thing you take from this video, that the units that we're all using, they're just very good. It's just
all
you
of
can't
us
take-
had 2 units of scouts, 2 units of 5-man jump death companies, and 1 10-man with Lamartis, and at least 2 units of assault intercessors with jump packs. So that's all you need to know. They're the main staples that you just put in the list, and then you have a little bit of flavor with whatever you want, whether it's Vanguard Vets, Sangard, Bile Predators, Lancers. Just your playstyle depends on what the other stuff is put in, but they're the staples that literally every list, you just put them in and then you build around it.
Yeah. I agree. I think a lot comes down to playstyle in the last section of the list with Blood Angels. I think that's something you should definitely bear in mind, guys. So don't think that we're all knowing. Look at all our lists; they're all very different in different ways.
They're all very good lists and have very good play, and have different styles of play. Ed's is very trade or send, full send, all combat. Connor's has a bit more of I don't have to full send because I can sort of pick your tanks up from range, and mine is more I'm gonna full run at you as quick as I can as well instead of a stage. Well, trade. Mine's just run at you, really.
Yeah, yours is already. The bricks have to just run and try and
Yeah,
stack
the
check
bricks have to run, and the Bile Predators run at the same time, and it's can you kill me? No, okay, you're dead. Can you kill me? Well done, you won.
Fair play. Okay, we're going to go on to the last list then, aren't we, Harley? And this one is one that did quite well over the weekend.
So this is Mike Porter's list. He went 5-0 and then he dropped. I assume that is because he consumed a large amount of beverages over the football game. It didn't come home, unfortunately. So he probably wish he stayed, but that's okay.
Oh no. Mike enjoyed that football. I'm going to shout out to Mike now. I respect that you voted home for the football. Fair play. I'd probably done the same.
My round 5 was, look, can we be finished by 3:30? I've got a 4-hour drive home. Yes. Okay. Sweet. I finished at 3:00. My opponent round 5 was a beauty. Came to turn 3 and he was nearly tabled. Could have got some points, and he was like, "Look, football's on soon. Let's go home." I was like, "Yes." But running through this list, it is block. Like this is crazy. The amount of big units. So you have 20 Death Company. 10 with Lamartis and 10 with a chaplain. Then you have 15 Vanguard Vets, and then 2 Sangreed Priests. One will join the Vanguard Vets, and then one will join a 10-man Assault Intercessor unit. He has 25 of them. And obviously, with the mortal wounds on the charge, if you charge 20 in, you're doing average 10 mortal wounds. So if you pop a grenade, you do that, you kill a transport, and then you pile into what's inside. Like, this is crazy, the amount of blocks it has. It's got 50 Marines just in bricks. This is the ultimate I run at you, can you survive list. This does not trade. This literally goes into the middle and says, I'm going to charge you next turn. Can you kill enough of me? No, I've charged you. You're dead. This is the ultimate version of it. Like, this just charges you, right? Like, the Marines, he staged, like with my list, Connor's list, your list. We've got small units, so we can stage, but it's not as killy. If people overload a flank, if the 10 Death Company aren't that side, they can survive that flank if they overload it. It goes 10 man, 10 man, 10 man, 10 man. Everyone on the board overloads the whole board. I think that's the difference with this list. It is literally a full go. Like it goes all at once, or it doesn't go at all. It does not trade because it has 5 Vanguard Vets and 5 Assault Marines, so it has little trading units, but that's like it wants to fully go at you at once.
Yeah,
so,
I think those 2 units actually like devolve into action monkeys in this sort of list. But the thing is, what I will say about this list is, I think it's actually like I say actually, like, it's very surprising. It's Mike Porter. He's one of the best players in the country. He's awesome.
Yeah,
he's built this list very cleverly. So it's not just it does look like on paper the dumb meh and just run forward and all that sort of thing. But it's the fact that I don't know whether I don't know whether I'm right with this. I'm sure he'll correct me if I'm wrong. But if I think with this list, a lot against some lists, you can struggle to, you can sometimes worry about getting screened out and all that sort of thing with the rapid ingress and all that sort of thing. This is the sort of list that if someone tries to stop a rapid ingress unit, which doesn't necessarily have to be Lamartus's unit in this setup, they're going to give you a lot of units to try and stop that from happening. Or if they don't, you can rapid ingress and hit them with like in flanks that they really hurt. Like this army is very clever with the fact that it can take out transports really quick and then like pile into the units, as you said earlier. Like I love that. If I was going to use bricks, if it was my play style at all, I would 100% use this. This is fantastic. I love this list.
It's a brilliant list.
Yeah, and I love that. It's like little interactions that you won't think of, like the lieutenant with combi weapon. If you can choose a objective in middle and get reroll ones to wound, right? Yeah. And that just makes the only bit that you don't have rerolls on have rerolls.
Yeah.
So it's like if you have that thing that you really need to kill in the middle, you can even have those interactions as well.
Also, a low-up character.
Fantastic. Exactly, and a low character sit at the back of the screen or do whatever he needs to do. So I really enjoy this list. It is fantastic.
Me and Connor was looking at the lieutenant with combi weapon for them rerolls and a lone op character that can action monkey. He seems quite good for the points. And like this list is a crazy list. Like
I think it's one of the. I think to be honest, it was. I think the only thing I could think it would struggle into is the mirror. And I might be wrong with this, but I do think this would struggle into mirror because it's the fact that you'll have these. Yeah, if you guys remember 9th edition Blood Angels, where people were running the big bricks of Sanguinary Guard, so that was the thing that was happening on. But whilst that was going on, I was running units of 4 Sangard because back then you could, and a unit of 4 Sangard would go into a unit of 9 Sangard and kill them all dead. Without problem. And that's the similar situation you're getting into, like, into when you start to use bricks. But the fact that you've got the 2 units with the units with the feel no pain and stuff does make that a little bit more swingy. So he can put himself into the situation where he can sort of make certain trades go wrong. But in my humble opinion, I think this one might struggle into a very MSU focused and Dante focused mirror. Just because that's what that is designed to do. But like, I think that's the only thing it could struggle into. But also, how many good Blood Angel players are using that? How many good Blood Angel players are using the MSUs? It's not many, right?
I think the Blood Angels mirror into this it can go either way, even if it's the pure MSU list, just because with them 10 mans, he can stand on the circles. Obviously, you don't have the shooting to take him off, so you have to charge in. I don't know, because 5 Death Company, do they kill 10 guys if they AOC? Stuff like that with the feel no pain. And then obviously if some survive, they kill you on the slapback, so they're just winning the trade because they're still getting the objective. I think it can go either way.
It's more so. Sorry, carry on, mate. Carry on.
And then obviously, you can obviously out trade it very well, but how well do you trade into them 10 mans is the question.
So this is the thing. So I think obviously any game can go either way, especially when it comes down to player skill and stuff like that as well. Like that's a very big thing to take into account. However, I do think that with a list like that, because from someone who's used bricks and used MSU, I know for a fact that at some point your opponent's going to dictate what trade they're going to choose. If they're using MSU and you're using bricks, they're going to get to choose that trade. That's the issue. So if you've got like 2 to 10 bricks of Death Company, like if I put like, I don't know, let's say in my list they've got those buildings, right? They the 2-inch ruins that like some of them sit flat bang in the middle of objective. So what happens when I just put a chaplain on one objective behind the ruin and a chaplain on the other objective behind the ruin?
Yeah, like, that is a problem.
It's stuff like that, and that's not just Blood Angels. That's a lot of armies. Like,
yeah,
I know that he has these small units. That's the thing, that you can always force the trades with an MSU list, and that will give you the dictation of how you're going to take apart the bricks. And that on its own is a very powerful aspect. Like if I can go, okay, that's the Vanguard vet brick. Okay, I'm going to hit it with 30 Inferno Pistols this turn, and then charge 3 units, and then see if Dante makes things battle shots.
Yeah,
like that. It's that interaction that can go wrong really quickly as well.
Yeah, I do get that. I think in other games though, not Blood Angels mirror, he does. I don't think he bothers to try trade. I think he just literally chucks all these Marines into. So you got them small wells in the middle. I think he probably puts 20 Marines behind 10 behind each, and then 20 in the main L, and then he pretty much goes, "Yeah, you can kill some of me, but I'm still going to kill you." I think that's what he probably does.
Yeah, I think what he does is basically what the MSU can do in the same matchup. So basically, like, that doesn't change. Whether you got MSU or you've got bricks, I don't think that changes in those games too much, because you can still full send. You had MSU as well. Well, MSU had 1 brick, didn't you?
I had 2, but I still had quite a lot of MSU. I still had like 5 or 6 units of MSU.
In the games you can full send, you can just full send anyway.
You just full send the MSU.
That doesn't change, and that's the only reason why my thoughts towards the MSU build I think are better right now, just because you have the dictation of the trade in the mirror. And that's what I think has a lot of value. That doesn't mean you're going to win every mirror, by the way.
Of course, it comes down to luck, how trades go.
Well, it comes down to player skill is a big thing as well. Of course. You could miss a heroic, you could forget about an Overwatch.
Knowing when to save CP, stuff like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Like you could just get your CP generation wrong and have 1 CP when it goes into your turn, and then they'll just wreck you. So it's stuff like that, right? It's those interactions that are quite important to remember, though.
Yeah, that's something like. As much as he's going to stage a 10 behind their middle sort of L's, with the MSU, you can just stage 2 5s anyway. And then when it goes to your turn, you just have more options because you can charge 2 separate ways instead of sending a 10 in one way.
The only reason why the reason why 10s are good, though, is combat efficiency. So basically, you'll have these situations where for me to full send, I have to roll 10 charge rolls. Let's say. Like, he has to roll 5.
Yep. And then also he's making the most of the Sangri Priests for the Feel No Pain in the AP, and he's making the most of the Mortal Wounds on the charge.
Absolutely agree. And that's where the combat efficiency really works with this will full send way better than my list. Because I've got like literally double the amount of fail points than this list will. So, like, Mike would have to roll 5 charges to get his bricks in. I have to roll 10 to get my army. Yeah, and that's a big difference, especially when you haven't got re-rolls on everything. You've only got the re-rolls on the jump back, guys. I've got 3 units re-rolls, and that basically means if he fails 1 charge, then he can re-roll it. Whereas if I fail, which on average I'll fail like more than that, because I'm literally rolling double the amount of dice, I don't have the access to those re-rolls. So I do get if from a combat efficiency point of view, this is terrifying, because the fact that you can charge with the 5 units reliably and not have to have too many fail points in between is really, really good. And I think that's one of the strengths of this list. But I think into MSU tradey pieces, it can be quite tough. But obviously, I haven't played it or used it, so I'm just going off my pure logic here.
Yeah, exactly.
I also do think a unit like Dante or Battleshock Tech with combat in it is quite scary for this list. Yeah. As soon as you get round an interrupt or a fight on death, you kill a unit for free. And that's quite scary in its own right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And to be fair, if I was playing this list, I think I'd try maybe drop 5 Vanguard Vets and 10 Death Company and try getting 10 Sangard and Dante.
If you're going full bricks, I think 1 should be Dante.
With the Sangard, because then if you do play the mirror, you have a unit that's -1 to hit, -1 to wound, and can battle shock you. So that is horrible in the mirror, especially if it's a 10-man. Because like AOC with a 2-up and then -1 to hit, -1 to, it's just horrible.
In fact, I've got my edits actually. I've got my edits for this list. I'm not saying it's correct, but I know this is something that would make me want to use this list instantly. Drop the Battle Pred for 125. Drop the 10 Vanguard Vets and the 5 Vanguard Vets for, I believe, 330. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
110 per. Correct. So that'll give you 455 overall.
That's Dante and
you take 10 unit 10 Sangard with Dante, and I think that is absolutely terrifying. And it's terrifying anyway, obviously, but I like. And then at that point, because you've got that brick, you could then maybe squeeze in another unit of scouts if you drop one of the 10 units as what do you of sources down to 5s or any of those interactions, just to have those action monkeys. But I think if I was going to run bricks, I would like to have this exact setup but with 10 Sangard, because I just love the Sangard.
I think I'd go in the way of my playstyle a little bit different to yours. I think I'd go in the way of dropping the 10 Death Company and keeping the Vanguard Vets, because I love the Vanguard Vets. I just think they're so good. It gives you an option that you don't have in the tankiness. So when people do clap back, if you don't fully kill someone, it's a unit that's not just going to fall over. Because obviously Death Company, they're brilliant. They hit really hard. They're Marines. They die. Like,
I can see the value in that, 100%.
So I like that one tanky unit. Obviously, you've got your Sangard, which is your tanky unit. So
exactly. It's to be honest, for me, it's the AOC and cover interaction that some armies
yeah,
just
it's
hate.
brilliant. Yeah.
That's the only thing. Any other notes on this one, Connor? Before we move on.
I quite like the list. I didn't even think of trying 10-man jump in assessors, but that is just so many mortal wounds.
Oh, it's crazy.
And putting a Sanguinary Priest in there as well, the extra AP does make them hit that little bit harder.
Yeah.
I think with lists like this about, I really want to try the Sanguinor.
Yeah.
I've looked at his profile. And I'm like because he doesn't get the charge bonus if he heroics into combat. From up in the sky.
Well, I've got like carry on, sorry.
But I really like the fight first, and I've tried to theorize that playing into it just sounds horrible. So having and then forcing that issue on your opponent can make some situations where they're either not going to trade effectively or they're scared to trade because they could just lose a unit for free.
So now we have the most controversial take between all three of us. We have one man on the fence, we have one man absolutely loving him, and we have one man absolutely hating him. We can guess who they are. Have your guesses now. Now we will tell you who is who. So we'll start with the man who is on the fence and is yes or no, and this is Mr. Ed.
Hello, guys. Sanguinor, I think I'm torn between him because he's expensive. What he is, he can be swingy, but in combat matchups, he just dictates. He basically like breaks every rule of trading, which in itself is a massive value. In the Blood Angel mirror, he's amazing. In like the Jakari game, he's amazing. Gives you that element of fight first on top of your fight on death and on top of your battle shocks from Dante. So like I'm torn between him just for the price of him, but I love him, but I hate him. That's where I sit with him.
It's a love-hate relationship. So now we will go on to the man that has used him in one game and thinks he is the absolute god savior on earth, and now he will tell us why. Connor.
Well, so 140 points is a lot for a character. His combat's good. It's not insane, but the ability to be able to basically heroically intervene from reserves, you don't have to spend any CP, so it just happens. Fights first. Any unit that can try and trade up into you just dies to him. I find that even in the combat, oh shit, I'm gonna fuck that one up, boys.
You carry on. We're going on natural.
We'll go. I just think he's great. He loan up as well. I found so I was playing against guard. I was just able to just put him onto objective. You have to come within 12 to shoot him or charge something on. Maybe get heroic. I think he has so much value into the matchups you need to probably tech for. And yeah, I think he's great. He's going in all of my lists from now on.
So Connor loves him so much he made him lost for words. That's what we're saying. Yeah. And now we get on to the man that hates him. Me, I think this guy is a disgrace for 140 points. I think he should nowhere near be this tabletop. Purely because I cannot roll dice, and I will bring him down for heroic, roll 3 1s and 2 wounds and kill a marine, and then be sad that I wasted 140 points on this guy when I could have a bowl predator. And I love bowl predators. We have established I love them. So yeah, I mean I can see the values of him. Like on paper he seems brilliant. I used him when I first started Blood Angels, and I was a bit of a Blood Angels noob, Connor. So yeah, I also saw like the plays with him, and then I used him, and he went, yeah, I just didn't kill it. But obviously Connor uses weighted dice, so when Connor comes down, he gets 8 hits and he rolls 8 6s and does 16 dev wounds. So that's obviously the difference between me and Connor. Yeah, I mean, like 140 points is so steep. Like it's so good what he does, but he just really, really whiffs for me. And then I just feel really bad that I spent 140 points on him when he comes down, fights, doesn't kill something, and then he just dies. Like, because people, after you fight first, people will just kill him instead of going for what they've gone to trade for.
The thing I find is it's more of the threat. Like, yeah, he could come down and miss 3 attacks, but he could also hit with all of them. And your opponent's got to take that into consideration.
I think it's just a scare factor. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. He's a scare factor for some armies. Like, Tom will absolutely this will scare Tom to death, but really it'll probably come down and kill 2 incubi, and then Tom still kills me anyway. So like it's just stuff like that. I just find he's too inconsistent. Like it seems so good. He comes down, someone pops armor of contempt, and then they're alive, and then you just die. Like, I mean, someone like in the CSM matchup, you're really bringing him down, and you want. But as much as you're bringing him down, if you bring him down into Chosen, you kill 2 Chosen. That does not matter at all because they want the Lord. That's all. And if you try precision out the Lord, it doesn't die because it's got like 5 wounds with a 4-up invuln, so it becomes too swingy. So that matchup I don't think is great because 2 Chosen dead is like, okay, wow, 140 points for 2 Chosen. And then Jakari matchup I think he's good. He kills a couple of incubi, but 140 points for killing a couple of incubi. When if you just play the matchup right, I think you can just save the fight on death instead, which then means you're saving 140 points just by being a bit careful with your CP. And then you can have another unit to trade, maybe even 2 units. Like this guy is an assault intercessor unit and scouts. That is 145 points. He's 140. So that is 5 more points for 9 extra dudes. So I don't know. I used him and I just didn't get on with him. And then you play some matchups and he's just useless. Like if you play Imperial Knights, Tyranids isn't great. Like there's just some matchups where like he just doesn't do much. And then you're like, well, this 140 points I could have put into something else that's good into every matchup. But that's my personal thoughts. I can definitely see him being good. Obviously Connor loves him. Ed's a bit on the fence, and I just don't like him after using him a couple times. I just felt he's not it. But maybe that's because at one event I played against Demon Monster Mash, CSM Vehicle Spam, and Tyrannid Monster Mash. That's probably why I don't like him, because I played 3 Monster Mash armies in one event with him, and I just felt if you get that draw, he's just useless in all 3 games there. So I just felt like I could better spend my points. But maybe for the mirror match and Jakari, they are 2 of the best armies right now. He's needed, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I think we've covered that one. I think we've shared all of our opinions. All right. So basically, guys, I'll be honest. We've got how do I beat it, and then we've got the thank you at the end. Do you reckon we can do that in 7 minutes, or do you want to just hit this again?
We can do it in 7 minutes. Be quick.
You sure?
Power through.
Yeah,
Okay,
power through.
Cool, go for it. So how do I beat it?
So the way you beat it is out trade it, which is impossible. So you can't beat it that way. Yeah, I'm actually really struggling to think of ways to beat it. I think it's the best army in the game right now, and I think it's really hard to beat. If I played against it, I think you've got to try screen. You've got to pick your trades right. You just have to be very careful into it. Like, because if it stages and it gets to you, you're dead. Like, maybe if you've got a load of cheap units, just give them up to stop them getting in the trade-in positions. Like, it's very hard to beat. I think, as we covered earlier, that they can struggle with action. So if you can get an early lead in secondaries and try hold on to that, maybe a secret mission to take the home field, because obviously we said we don't like home field holders and we want the middle. I think there is play, but you have to play it perfectly to beat them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I've got no notes there. I think you've covered it pretty much perfectly there from my perspective, my dude.
I think the one thing that is hard for Blood Angels to play into 2+ saves of Armor of Contempt. A lot of your combat is AP2 capped, so taking 3-ups, there is a chance. So many attacks that it's not guaranteed, but if there's a way you can,
we'll give you hope.
Bodies, yeah, there's definitely play into it, but it's just so hard. There's too much stuff doing too much damage.
Another way to beat it would be play a board with no terrain and play a full shooting army. That would work.
That would work. I've got to agree with you there. I think the only thing mainly when you're looking at beating it is you've got to look for the mistakes that your opponent makes really carefully.
It's all about how good your opponent is, because you have to capitalize on every mistake they make. Otherwise, you just lose.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Okay, cool. Right, so I'll do another slide as soon as I find the thing again. Yeah, there we go. Ah, cool. I'll leave this one to you, Harley.
So this is the end of the Blood Angels episode. We've covered some of our lists. Obviously, feel free to copy mine. It's the best one out of the three. And then we've covered obviously how to beat it. Try to. We've covered sort of the Sanguinor. We've covered what stratagems you have so you don't get caught out by what it can do. We've covered the detachment rule. We've discovered some of the big hitters like the Death Company and stuff like that. So we've gone through most of it, so you've got a better understanding of what is going to be probably on the top tables in this meta. And hopefully this has helped you realize what you can do against it, how to play around it, and stuff like that. But that is it from me, Ed and Connor. That has been our takes on the Blood Angels. Don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, become a member of the channel so you can play in our league and you get to play against us. How pleasant to play against all three of us. We do play fun lists. We will not be playing Blood Angels. So that's always fun. Join the Discord. We're all in there talking, discussing stuff all the time. And yeah, just like and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching. And that's it from us. Goodbye.
See ya.
Bye.